So get this. In the Daily Wire, the Biden administration expands tuition breaks for future teachers, namely people that want to become teachers, so they want to go to college. So he's expanding tuition breaks for them, but he's doing it by removing the GPA requirement to provide access to students of color. So I'm going to read this. It says, the Biden administration announced a plan to expand tuition breaks for future teachers and remove GPA requirements for grant recipients in hopes of providing access to students of color. The Department of Education oversees the Teacher Education Assistance for College and Higher Education Grant Program. So that's a program I didn't even know existed that you can get free money from to go become a teacher, to go to college, so they'll help you pay for it, which provides tuition breaks for students obtaining degrees in education who commit to teaching in high-need fields and underserved schools for 4 years after graduation. The Biden administration, with the support of Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, announced that the annual grant amount for third and fourth year students, will double to $8,000 per recipient. Biden's plan will remove the existing GPA requirements for those recipients in hopes of increasing access to students of color. So, Matt and Brian, what we're saying here, what the Biden administration is saying, what the Democrats are saying is what Miguel Cardona is saying, Secretary of Education of the United States. The Democrat Party is saying that by virtue of the color of your skin, that you are incapable of working hard and getting good grades to obtain this scholarship. Is that what they're saying? Because that's literally what they're acknowledging. And this goes to meritocracy, right? Which is, we're saying to people that we're going to water down standards so are you going to have better students eventually that go to college and they get a degree and they teach, K to 12, and they go there and they're not really educated, or they're terrible students, they're not good teachers. I mean, this is what bothers me, because I just feel like, and I know that this is a touchy subject, okay? But it used to be that we were going to give people of color certain breaks, like tax breaks, so that they could start businesses. I'll be frank with you. I was supportive of that, all right? Years ago, I was very supportive of that and actually voted for stuff like that. But now, fast forward, we're saying in the 21st century, by virtue of the color of your skin, you are not smart enough to get a good grade point average.
Well, that's soft bigotry of low expectations.
That's exactly right.
It's also racism by the Democrat Party.
It is by racism, but I mean,
They're
nobody
the ones
knows
who say
racism better than the Democratic Party. They created it. Yeah, I mean, think about it if you're a parent sitting in the classroom, and then if your son or daughter has a black teacher, you're like, are they here because of their skin color, or are they here because, they actually performed? And then imagine the teachers that you have now currently that may be African American. Like, you're kind of taking away from them.
You're creating more division, because that is going to be in the back of people's minds, which of course is a problem, right? But this is the Democrat Party, as you just said, Matt. They don't succeed unless they continue to perpetuate this idea that people, by virtue of the color of their skin, aren't as smart as others. That's insane. That's insane. Of course, they're as smart as
something
everybody
right from
else.
the KKK, I believe. I'm all for diversity, but when you're talking about diversity at the sake of hiring people that are more qualified, that just seems un-American in many ways. And it's not fair for the person's spot that you're taking.
That's exactly right.
But this goes to the whole the meritocracy argument, and to the podcast listeners who I know really will find this interesting, Brian, and that is, at what point do we start speaking up? Because I know I have, and I know that you guys have, and so have others, but so few Democrats and independents and Republicans who know this is wrong. They know this is wrong, are fearful of speaking up, because if they do, they could maybe lose their job. And whether it's a job in corporate America or a small, medium-sized corporation, if they were to speak up about that, because they could say, well, boss, why are you promoting that person? We decided that it's only fair because even though you work harder, And even though you put in the time, and even though you've been here longer, we're trying to create, a system of equity.
I think one of the interesting dynamics of it all is if you talk to some teachers, there's a lot of more conservative Republican teachers than most people will tell you. The real liberals are at the higher end, but you'll have some Republican conservative teachers and they'll come to you and say, I'm afraid to say anything at all. So people
true.
are shunned and they're almost like frowned upon and mocked. And so you get to the point, it's almost like a turtle. When you have a turtle and he's got his head out and you go over the first time, he puts his head back, but then comes back. And then you do it again. He puts his head back and comes back a little bit. And sooner or later, the head stops coming out because the turtle's like, I'm tired of being, poked at. And that's really a microcosm of society.
For me personally, I like the Mr. Miyagi metaphor better. Let's hear that one again. So let's hear the Mr. Miyagi.
Left side of the road, okay. Right side of the road, okay. Middle of the road, squish it like a grape.
Okay, so that was from the Karate Kid podcast.
It had nothing to do with me.
Yes.